Welcome to the Health Angle. I am Dr. Mike, and with me is Dr. Gordon. Welcome, Dr.
Hi.
Gordon.
Welcome to the viewers. We got a good subject again. We keep picking good ones, Dr. Mike.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
This is the podcast where we talk about every angle of your health that you can improve. So, without further ado, let's talk about our topic this week, Dr. Gordy.
absolutely. Posture as well as ergonomics. I was thinking about this subject and two things popped into my head just to kind of reiterate what we're really looking at when you're talking about posture and ergonomics. I have a couple of studies here. One is a self-study, but what I want to do first is get into, like, let's say you have a patient that comes in, and what do they usually present with? Usually symptoms before they become proactive in actually doing something about their posture or their ergonomics. So some of the symptoms might be neck pain, headaches, upper back pain, pain between the shoulders. They'll get soreness, tightness, sometimes even spasm if it's more progressed. And even more advanced, you might feel tingling or numbness into the hands and the fingers. If it's really bad, the numbness is probably the worst on that scale. Stiffness, not as bad, local stiffness, that is. When I look at a posture, I don't know, you'll talk about this too, Dr. Headlee, is I'll put them in front of a mirror with a grid. And I know we have x-rays. You can look at their posture that way as well. But I'll put them in front of a grill and I'll really take a look at it. And if I see a high shoulder or their weight distribution is 10 or 15 pounds heavier on one side, I'll ask them, what do they see in their posture? I don't say anything. I just want to hear what they say. And I would say the typical patient would say, yeah, I feel my shoulders are rounded. I feel like my head is kind of going forward. I carry a bag and I feel like my shoulders are uneven. Something just feels off with my pelvis. They might even see part of their pants sleeve kind of pull up a little bit, indicating that, hey, they're just a little bit off balanced. And I ask them why, well, what's going on? And it's interesting because some people intuitively feel their posture is off. And then there's others that don't. They just really don't have that proprioception feel for what their posture is doing. How about you, Dr. Mike? I have more to add, but
I like the statement, Dr. Gordy, posture is the window to your spine. So by just looking at someone's posture, if your posture's off, your x-rays and other analysis can't be really great. I use a simple test using the wall. And I have a slant board. It's an Egoscue slant board where the slant is actually slanted towards the wall. So you stand on it, your buttocks should hit your middle back and your head. Because when those three things line up against the wall, your ear is over your shoulder, over your hip, your knee, and just behind your ankle. And so structurally, they're pretty darn good. They might not feel good. They might not be able to move, but structurally, they're really, really good. So I use that analysis. You can use a mirror, and I like the bilateral scales and things like that, but I like posture as the window to your spine. And just like you, before I analyze a patient, I ask them, how do you think your posture is? 9 out of 10 times people say my posture isn't very good. And I test them, and some of them is excellent, but their perception is it's not that good because of ergonomics that we'll talk about in their desk or their work or their school. And so it's a huge topic today because of all of the desk jobs and computer jobs and remote jobs. And my unofficial research is 9 out of 10 people feel their posture is not very good.
wow, that's significant. It's interesting during the pandemic, and you probably can relate to this. People were forced to go home, crunched in front of their computers for long hours, their laptops, getting away from the desktop that would at least give somewhat of a better posture. So they left the workforce, went home, and they're slouching on the couch and in bed and poor posture. And I used to have wellness patients that would come in, and they would come in regularly with just kind of minor aches, pains, stiffness, nothing real major. I started seeing these same people coming in with just more severe advanced symptoms, headaches and upper back and tingling in the fingers, and they couldn't figure out what was going on. If it would have been one or two cases, I would have thought really nothing of it, but it kept happening over and over and over during the pandemic. So that was a confirmation. Hey, this is some serious stuff, this posture and what happens at home. When we get into like fixing the desk at the posture, the ergonomics at your workstation, we'll cover that in a little bit. I was thinking about that, and there's like 3 tests that I think are really poignant as far as looking at the mechanics as well as the function. So if anybody's at home, you can join me in doing this. If you're watching on YouTube, just do this. Sit upright and just jut your head, your neck. Just extend your head way over. So you're mimicking a forward head posture. And then take a deep breath in through your nose and breathe it out through your mouth. So do that 3 times with your neck way out there, your head way out there. And then bring your head back to where it's supposed to. And breathe again. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. You notice how it's just much easier to breathe when your head, your ears, like you had stated, Dr. Headlee, are directly over your shoulders. Easier to breathe. So that's one functional change. Another, when your head is way out there, try to lift your arms up. I don't have a lot of room here, but lift your arms just laterally over your head. Stick your head way out there. Now bring your head back where it's supposed to be. And then go ahead, lift your arms straight laterally over your head. And it's so much easier. It goes way up there. So that's just another functional test. Another test that you can do is bring your head way out there and then turn your head to the left, turn your head to the right. And now bring your head back to where it's supposed to be. Turn your head to the left and to the right. These are just functional tests that really validate that if you have forward head posturing, it affects your function. If it affects your function, more than likely there's some nerve disruption there as well. So those are just some tests. The other thing, Dr. Headlee, if someone is consistently doing forward head posture in front of the computer, for example, just like any muscle in the body, if I took a weight and I started doing curls on my right side, you'd see a development on my right side. If I ignored my left, everybody knows that, hey, you compare the two and you just do curls on the right, it's going to change. So if you're training your head to go way out there, and in fact, if you keep it like this for a while, you'll start to feel. And basically what we're doing is we're training our neck by doing work in front of the computer, mobile devices, texting. They call it text neck as well, anterior head posture, text neck, anterior head carriage. So if you put it out there, it's going to grow. The muscles will actually grow that way. So that's kind of the negative doing activities with poor posture, computer, mostly from computer work.
Those are really, really great functional tests, Dr. Gordy. I would maybe add one too. If you're standing, and then do what Dr. Gordon says, stick your head way forward, and then just try to walk a little bit and try to assess your balance. And you aren't going to stand very comfortable, and your balance is going to be off. And so you can do that standing as well. And the research says for every 1 inch of forward head posture, Dr. Gordy, it increases the weight of our head by 10 pounds. So if that's jutted out 3 inches, so that those muscles have to support 30 pounds on average instead of 10. And that's where you get the development of those muscles, like you said.
Yeah. And then you add the between 10 and 11 pounds. That's how much the head weighs. That's where that exponential forces are coming from. Continue.
And no wonder why people get fatigued and tense and tight. I tell people the laziest posture you can have is ideal posture, because your ear is over the shoulder, the hip, the knee, and the ankle, and your body is at ease, and you're using the least amount of muscles to support your structure, and it's the laziest posture. If you see kids on a desk and computers and slouching in that forward head posture, that's not lazy posture. That's fatiguing posture. That is painful. That is sore over time. So if you want to have the most efficient, energy efficient body and frame, really work on your posture. And one last statistic about losing the curve in your neck and by having forward head posture, Dr. Gordy, loss of neck curve stretches the spinal cord 5 to 7 centimeters
Yeah.
and causes dys-ease, so lack of ease in the body. If you want ease, sit up straight, stand up straight, breathe properly, and keep the ear over the shoulder, over the hips, the knees, and ankles, and you will have efficient biomechanics.
Yeah, that's brilliant, Dr. Mike. That's brilliant. I was talking about the exam process that I do. And first of all, I want to just let the audience know, if you're looking at your posture from a front view, it's normal for it to be straight up and down. So if you see someone with, like, for example, a high shoulder, maybe they're carrying golf bags or a purse always on that one shoulder, or some other heavy equipment from the gym, maybe. So what happens is people are either shruggers or they're sagers. And as a result of that, over time, your spine can literally change and it can cause just a minor curve. Now, if the curve, I'm just talking from the front view, if the curve is above 10 degrees, that's considered scoliosis. And I don't get freaked out about scoliosis because in our offices, we may see a few people with scoliosis, and it sounds more scary than it is. People are fully functional in the most part, except for some really severe cases. But it's unfair for them because they have gravity working on them, and you have gravity plus your own body weight, and that can cause specific areas where you get tension spots. And everybody has their own tension spots along the spine due to old accidents, injuries, slips and falls, etc. But going back to that evaluation, when I'm looking at them and I'll see a shoulder that's a little bit high, and I may ask them, are you doing anything where you're carrying a bag? And 9 times out of 10, they'll say yes. And then I'll look at their head, and it'll be leaning the opposite way of their bag. So if they're this way, they're going to be countermeasuring it by going to the other side. Then you can actually see that during the examination. Or if somebody's stepping on the bilateral scale, which means there's scales on each foot, so you can see the measurement of your body, and they become uneven if they're over 10 degrees, not 10 degrees, but 10 pounds, the first thing I ask them, do you have any ankle, knee, hip, pelvis, or low back problems? And again, most people will say yes. How did you know? It's because if you're carrying 10 pounds heavier on one side of your body, or even 15, something's got to give in that pathway. And the other thing too, this is really interesting, kind of in the same lines. There was this podiatry study years ago. I think I found out about this study when I was in college yet. And it was done at a podiatry school, and the students participated. So what they did was the students were given a heel lift. What a heel lift is, it basically hoists one side of your body higher than the other. And they call it a heel lift because it's literally put under your heel to lift that up. So by putting that heel lift in, they wanted to measure after a period of time what happened as far as compensations. And it was amazing because some of the students felt ankle pain, some felt knee pain, others felt hip pain, others pelvic, low back. It also compensated up to the middle back, as well as the upper back, neck, and the shoulders as well. So basically what I'm saying is those compensational effects can compensate up the spine. And some people have anatomically short legs. And if their one leg is shorter than the other, then they need to go to a professional to evaluate for that. And if it is short, they're probably the only ones that might need a heel lift to balance it off. A lot of times you can put a spouse and have them go face down, head forward, and look at the end, look at their feet. Are they even? Are they off? And if one leg pulls up more than the other, more than likely coming from the pelvis or the low back or even the mid back, if that pulls up, it doesn't conclude that the leg is short. It just means that something's pulling up along the spine. And I'll ask patients, hey, intuitively, do you feel like one leg pulls up more than the other? Not short, but pulls up. A lot of people can kind of feel it. They just feel a little bit off. So the key is, and I do this quite frequently, you might address their spinal issues and then do a post leg check and you'll see them even out. That's a good indicator that more than likely they don't have a short leg. And sometimes this can show up on the x-ray as well, where you might see the pelvis drop and they may or may not have a short leg, and you have to do your own analysis to conclude that. So I don't know, maybe your experience, Dr. Headlee, I'm sure you have slightly different. This is actually fun for a podcast because I get to share my ideals. You share yours, and I learn stuff from you all the time, and it's good collaborating.
Yes, likewise as well, Dr. Gordy. And my training told me that 5% or less have a structural short leg. So it's not very common. And so I've given out probably 5 heel lifts or less over the last 25 years. I just don't give them out yearly. I haven't found that, after I analyze them and correct them and balance them, they just don't need that. One little thing, when I was a professor at Life University, I personally was in a research study as a subject to see the effects of stiletto high heels on posture. I've never wore high heels before, but I had to wear them according to the research study. And personally, I found them hard to walk in. I was in them for 10 minutes walking around, and they measured my posture beforehand and after. 10 minutes is all. I had the worst shin splints pain at night that I've ever had. So the conclusion was that it actually helps straighten your posture. Usually you see, women wearing high heels, they're standing up pretty straight. Horrible for your feet, and then that can have rebound effects. Short term, it can help your posture. I don't recommend them for posture correction, but that was really interesting. I thought it would really, really wreck their posture. It wrecks their feet is what it does more than your posture. And some other good examples, if people want to go to the park or go to the mall or a sporting event, some of the best posture profiles I've seen are athletes, because you perform better, you're more efficient when you have good posture. Musicians, whether they're singers or they're playing the flute, have really so we can learn a lot from some of these professions. Dancers, people in the military, a good amount of speakers, public speakers. I've seen Tony Robbins, and we've been to, the seminar circuit. They're standing up pretty darn good, so they can project to the audience and have good energy and good brain function. So it's fun to watch certain professions to see what their posture is. And then that also enhances their performance.
When you were talking about the pelvis with high heels, I had a flashback to college, and there was an instructor, Russell Eckhart. He was a brilliant mind in X-ray. And he used to show us these x-rays, and you'd see a big, huge forward C curve. Let me explain what I mean by that. First of all, I explained a little bit earlier that your spine should be straight up and down from a front view. And of course, if you got minor curves less than 10 degrees, they're nothing more than curves. If they're more severe, over 10 degrees, then that's a scoliosis. If I turn sideways, that's where you should have a nice forward C curve. And you should have them both in the neck, cervical spine, and the low back, lumbar spine. Then it actually reverses the opposite way in the thoracic or the middle part of the back. So the low back, I remember he used to show these x-rays of these women who would be in high heels, and it would really accentuate that forward C curve. And if anything, I don't endorse this, but a lot of men have really straight low back spines. If anything, they should be wearing the high heels, but I'm joking. Don't do it. But anyway, so a lot of men are straight and they need to get that forward C curve. And there's great exercises that people can do as well. I made a couple of notes, Dr. Mike, about posture and other effects. I know that breathing and digestion can be a big thing. If someone's slouching over their computer or a laptop, or a child's gaming and stuff, that can compress your lungs, and it really restricts the diaphragm. and that diaphragm just doesn't have the movement that it should. And it basically shallows your breathing and it decreases the oxygen intake. And that is not good. The cells begin to really suffer long term by doing that. We need oxygen every time we breathe. Those red blood cells grab oxygen and distribute it throughout your whole body. Your brain needs oxygen, your cells, your muscle system needs oxygen. And so breathing and digestion are a really big thing. Good posture prevents compression of the organs, and it basically prevents. The other thing is posture and confidence. I know a lot of people might not talk about this, but most people with good posture exude more assertiveness and confidence, which elevates your mood and really boosts people's self-esteem. And I think the children in front of social media, I think if anything, they should be spending more time in the gym and yoga and doing these postural exercises to build them up so they do have confidence. The other thing is body language and posture, emotions and attitudes, that really can project through your posture, nonverbal communication. So those are just a couple of things that I took. And, proper posture when you're sitting, standing, running, walking, or even sleep. These are really important areas to hone in on. So
I agree too, 100%. And also when I see people with that dowager hump, I talk about a banana neck, Gordy, which is ideal with the C curve versus a giraffe neck. A giraffe neck has the same vertebrae 7 as our neck, but guess what? Most people can visualize a giraffe neck. It's very straight, and they don't have the C curve or the banana curve shape. And so what I see, if I see someone laying on the table and they got this hump at the lower part of their neck and they don't have that natural cervical curve, high blood pressure is really prevalent in those patients because the nerve at T2 in the base of the neck goes to our heart. So if your heart and lung function is compromised, that's going to have a lot of stress on your heart and create a lot of blood pressure issues. And so I've seen that a lot in my practice. A couple other just simple statements that I want to give people hope. If would I give my practice members hope, because 9 out of 10 report to me that they feel like they have bad posture. I talk about health is just like posture. It's a skill that you can learn to master. So posture is a skill, and I'll give you a couple examples on how to master your posture. And we're not stuck with the current level of posture that we have. So if you feel like your posture is suffering, you aren't stuck there, but we have to make some changes, all right? And you have to do some action steps to make it better. And one of my favorite but simplest things to do is if you put your back up against the wall and your buttocks are touching, your middle back between the shoulder blades is touching, and you can touch your head and everything is lining up. Awesome, awesome. Like what if you did that every day? 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years from now, you're still going to be straight and tall because the day before you were. My favorite exercise to optimize the function of that good posture is to put your hands in front of you and grasp that. We can do this, Gordy, as we're sitting too, and then reach up above our head, pretending your buttocks and middle back and head are touching the wall, and then taking 14 slow, deep breaths in. And if you can keep that good posture while you're extending your hands over your head and breathing 14 times, just notice how your rib cage expands, your spine is more flexible. And I do recommend doing that first thing in the morning because you didn't move, hopefully, very much. I recommend doing that right before bed so you can get even more flexible and relaxed, and then you're not going to move. And we didn't talk about posture of sleep, so I don't know if you want to touch that as well, but that's my absolute favorite minute and a half exercise, Dr. Gordy, before bed and after bed, and that will enhance the movement of your spine and solidify that straight posture, ear over shoulder, over hip, knee, and ankle.
Love it. Great exercise, Mike. That's really good. I think sleep posture is important, and we might have touched on this in earlier episodes slightly, but when we're talking about the spine, it should be straight up when you're looking in the mirror. And that posture also has to be like that when You're sleeping. So it's just some tips. You want a mattress that's not too firm, that needs to give for your shoulder, your pelvis as well. So it shouldn't be too firm, but it shouldn't be too soft, because if it's too soft, you're losing that spine that's supposed to be straight up and down. You're losing that because of the softness of the mattress. So it should be straight. And if you have a pillow, the pillow shouldn't be too much where your head is leaning too far up, or not enough pillow where it's leaning down. That's side sleeping. If you're sleeping on your back, and then again, you want to make sure that you have enough support right in the neck for a cervical spine. So those are kind of the key is, what kind of mattress. We might have touched on this in another podcast, and it's tough. I don't really endorse any particular mattress. I did, however, called a company called Relax the Back. It's one of the bigger stores around the area that really exclusively look at posture as well as ergonomics. And I asked them, what are your top 5 products that you recommend? And number 1 was their Tempur-Pedic mattress with an adjustable base. Good. And number 2, pillows. Number 1, mattress. Number 2, pillows. So when you talk about posture, that's what they sell. Those are number 1 and number 2. Number 3, office chairs. A lot of people are spending 8 hours or more per day, 40 hours plus per week, year after year after year after year. So it's so vitally important to have good posture in front of your computer. And we'll talk more specifics, Dr. Mike. You could probably get into that in a little bit. But the office chair is number 3. And they have chairs with memory foam for the backrest as well as the seat. And everything is adjustable. They even have a seat that slides forward or backwards. And they also have, like, for the shorter posture, they even have footrests that come up. So they make these chairs very comfortable for all sizes. And then they have number 4 of their best sellers was zero gravity decliners or recliners. Doesn't allow so much for a slouch. You're put in an angle where it's perfect for the hips. And a lot of people, if they're prolonged sitting and they get up, they're very sore. And so this zero gravity recliners just takes the pressure off the low back and the pelvis. And then their number 5 bestseller was those massage chairs, the office chairs. Why don't you go ahead and dive into that? And then I'll have some comments about that as well.
If you want to improve your posture fast, think about this. Dr. Gordy, a picture is worth how many words?
1,000.
Okay, so if you want to improve your posture fast, give your significant other permission to take pictures of you at different positions. Sit at your desk like you normally would. Have them take pictures from the front and the side. Lay in bed. Have them take pictures of you on your normal pillow in your normal position. Sit on the couch and watch a movie like you normally do, and have your significant other or partner take a few pictures. And if you aren't happy with that, maybe make that visible on your phone, and then we can go to work. And so you can ask for, a chiropractor, one of the many questions, and we'll talk about how to find a good chiropractor, et cetera, in later episodes. Do you educate and do you coach your clients on posture and ergonomics is a fair question. And but that I've seen, Dr. Gordy, people take pictures and go, oh my gosh, I didn't realize these guys are talking about this head jutting out so much and these muscles just engorged and that dowager hump in the back. So that has been one of my strategies, is to allow permission to take pictures.
I get a lot of patients that will come in, and I work downtown Chicago. So most of my patients are in front of computers all the time, laptops, just all the time. So it's a lot of postural issues. And one thing I tell them is, you know what, it's okay. Just the same thing that you had said, Mike, basically, except they're at work. I said, have a colleague or maybe somebody that sees me as well, sneak up on them without them knowing. And the same concept, just take a picture of them at work when they're so into their work that they don't know what their posture is doing. And I think that's a great strategy, even doing it at home. That's
Yes.
brilliant.
I used to think sitting is the new smoking, and I've read some research from Dr. McCullough and other people that I don't like that word sitting is smoke. I sit, I eat, I watch movies, and like sitting is the new smoking. I want to change that and say sitting is a sport, right? Train for it. And I'm going to sit the rest of my life, just not too much, hopefully. And so I want to train for it. And that comes with chairs, Dr. Gordon. And whew, if you want to talk about confusion, go pick out a bed. If you want to talk about pillows, chairs, they're hard to find, whether they're $200 or 2000, they might not fit. There's not one size fits all. But the biggest recommendation I have, it has to be adjustable. Any new car is going to have a lumbar support, and it's going to be adjustable because some people need more lumbar support than others. So I like chairs to literally go up and down, to have the seat tilt forward or backwards, have the arm supports go up and down, have the back recline if you want to, and lean forward. And the one word to keep in your mind is change. Don't just have this sit perfectly static for the next 5 years. Push it up and down and change it and move it and make it more flexible and mobile. And that's kind of a overview of what I recommend, but has wheels and it can move. And then the stand-up desks versus sit down, there's really ergonomic, comfortable chairs that are standing desks as well. So I'm a big fan of standing desks, and the ones that are pneumatic that can come down too. So have a fully mobile chair. And if it's just a static folding chair, you need to upgrade.
I get a lot of the office people, like I said a little bit earlier. And with that said, I give everybody an ergonomic sheet, the checklist of what they need to look at. And I'll include that. If you're listening to this, just go to YouTube. If you're on YouTube already, go under the comments. And sometimes we can post stuff under the comments. I'll leave an article about forward head posturing, text neck, or anterior head carriage. And with that, there will be a video that I'll attach about going over these steps, how to correct your workstation. And there's also a downloadable, just kind of a checklist of things that you can do at the workplace. So like we were talking about, straight up and down spine from a front view, but from the side view, the forward C curve in the neck, reverse curve in the low back or in the mid back, and then a forward C curve in the low back. So those curves from the side need to maintain at the workstation. So if you're sitting, everything, like Dr. Headlee said, everything should be adjustable. But with that said, I think there's some certain points that I think are critical. Number one is make sure the screen is on the upper 1/3, that's at eye level. So in other words, 1/3 of the top of the screen is at eye level. That's number one. Make sure that the screen isn't too far away. Bring it forward if you're kind of leaning in a little bit, which is human nature. So I tell people, if your screen is too low, it's too far away, get boxes, books, whatever you need to do is raise that screen up and then bring it towards you just enough so you're not extending forward. The other thing with the low back, a lumbar support, remember that forward C curve in the low back. If you have a lumbar support, something that pushes your low back forward, you can rest on that. And what it does is it brings the rest of your body up and natural into a more healthier posture. And that alone can make a huge difference with correcting this, which is forward head posture crunching. If you have the lumbar, it just pushes your whole back. And a lot of people, they don't use their back support. They'll sit up in their chairs while they're working, and those low back muscles are just firing all day long. It's a source of low back problems. So putting a lumbar support to support the rest of the spine is critical. Unfortunately, Dr. Mike, most of the people that come to see us are usually a little more on the advanced scale. They don't come in for prevention. So if anybody's watching this and you're like, any inclination that you need to make these corrections, do it while you don't have pain. Because I get too many people that come in with a lot of pain in the upper back, neck, headaches, and they say, oh my gosh, I can't get rid of this pain. I've had it for 3 weeks. Usually I have it, it comes and it goes, and I can just like ice it and then stretch it, and then I'm good the next day. But they come in 3 weeks later and I ask them, what are you doing? And they say, oh, I'm doing all these exercises every day, like 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 times. And I tell them immediately, stop that. And then I give them the ergonomic sheet. They make those corrections. And I tell them, stop that, ice at 15 to the hour, and don't exercise for right now. Your body will tell you when you're ready. Because when they exercise, we're concerned about the mechanics, but there's two dynamics that happen in conjunction with those mechanics. Number one is the muscles go into a spasm or a splinting or a tightness. And number two, you get a deep inflammatory response. So if you have a flare up and you're doing these massive exercises, you're inducing inflammation, you're inducing spasm, and it's the worst combination. And then if somebody leaves these problems, forward head posturing, for long periods of time, they come in their 30s or 40s, they've had it for years. I mean, that's basically long-term muscle strain. You can have disc herniations, arthritis, pinched nerves. And even there's a couple of books that even confirm that if you have bad mechanics over time, it's a degradative process. For example, Kirkcaldy and Willis, they talk about this, and so does a book called The Whiplash Injuries. So really important to fix the posture before it becomes a problem.
Absolutely. 100%. That's so critical. So we only have 2 minutes left, Dr. Gordon. My number one exercise was to reach above with your back up against the wall, to breathe 14 times morning and evening. We can put the link, or you can go to straightenupamerica.org. There's 12 exercises that you can do in 3.5 minutes that really help the spine stay flexible, and they're will help improve your posture. 3.5 minutes a day. And as you sit, like you said, with the monitor not too far away and not too low, I mean, with technology, we can set alarms every 30 minutes, and we can, do, side to side stretching and twisting and reaching and moving and hydration. If you're well hydrated, you're going to go to the bathroom a lot, and you can't sit all day. And so make sure you're hydrated. So
I want to make one more point before we expire, and then I'll let you close. People ask about these postural correctors with the straps, and I don't know if I'm a big fan of those, because what it does is they put it on for 8 hours and they become sorer than ever. So I think it's great to be conscious of it and maybe do it 15 increments, 20, a short period of time, take it off and then put it on. If anything, it just gives you like kind of a training of what you should be, but you shouldn't be wearing that 24/7. Same thing with low back. It's just a check to make sure that you're lifting properly, not bending, for those people that are working those types of jobs.
Absolutely. I like the posture shirts, but just temporary and training purposes or workout purposes. Well, to summarize, we started off by talking about the posture is the window to your spine, and how to check your posture and how to assess it. We've talked about taking pictures at work or at home, and even sneaking up on people, Dr. Gordy. And we gave you some strategies, because posture, it really matters. And the saying is, you're as old as your spine. So when your posture's crooked, your spine is not going to be very strong and healthy, and then your nervous system is going to be affected. So as we close, like we usually do, Dr. Gordy, what is your number one takeaway that you can share with a coworker tomorrow after you've listened to this? What is one takeaway you can share with someone in your household to assess each other's posture and take some action to improve your posture? And then, what's your personal action step that when you look in the mirror tonight and you brush your teeth and you see your head might be jutting forward or tilted or one shoulder higher from the gym bag or the purse or sitting on a wallet too much, what is your one action step going to be? And, if you change your habits, you can change your health, and you aren't stuck with the posture you currently have. It can improve. And we've given you several action steps. So now it's your turn to take action.
Please like us Please subscribe. And we're going to see you next week. In our episode next week, I think it's going to be a good one. It's going to be supplementation and vitamins.
Yes.
And I think we'll have a lot of powerful information. People that are looking for more information, hey, there's a lot of apps. There's a lot of YouTube videos. Simply put in posture or ergonomics, and there's plenty of people out there willing to help. But thanks for joining us this week.